7th?
Ninth.
9th, I'm sorry. The 7th is on my mind. Meeting to order, Andrea?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, reports of supervisor and council members. I just have a few things of correspondence. There was a misunderstanding last meeting. We were questioned about a truck that was purchased, a Freightliner truck, and where the money came from, and there was a lease purchase, and all kinds of stuff. So I'm gonna read how we came about. So, let's see, I spoke to Patty about it. Superintendent Wisman, this was from Ryan Corteen to Mr. Wisman, February 1st, 2016 at 9:42 a.m. In processing the vouchers, there is one in the amount of $193,566 to Mohawk Valley Freightliner for a truck with a plow with a wing, controls, etc. The voucher lists as fund appropriation D5130.2, but the 2015 amount I see is $1,280, and the 2016 amount is $60,244. So he asks Mr. Wisman about this. Mr. Wisman answers him, I spoke to Patty about it. That was for last year's budget. I'm pretty sure that Lizette did a lease purchase for that. Then Ryan comes back, I left you a message. Please let me know if you have any details regarding the lease purchase. We haven't found anything here about it yet. Richie comes back and he says, I just talked to Steve Frazier. He said it was a bond. So that's how we came about that it was a bond. We took the word of Mr. Frazier.
Actually, it
Mr.
wasn't my
Wisman.
words, I was misquoted by Mr. Wisman.
Okay, so that's how we came about using the bond money.
I also, and if you
Excuse
read down
me, I'm
further.
not finished.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Still at it.
I need to make an announcement. The recycling center is closed on Saturday in honor of Veterans Day. And I'd like to read a letter, a disturbing letter from a resident. Dear Town of Unionville Town Supervisor and Board members, it has come to my attention that there is discussion on Facebook about my appointment to the Town Ethics Committee. While I find it disheartening that this issue was not brought to me directly, I can understand why a perceived conflict of interest exists. It was my intent in volunteering for this position to be involved in the town in a neutral, apolitical role. I am confident that I could provide unbiased assessment of ethical issues that arise. However, in light of the recent postings on Facebook alluded to some ulterior motive on my part, I feel the best thing to do is resign from the Ethics Committee. I hope you can find suitable candidate to take my spot and balance out the member panel. Having a well-rounded and respected Ethics Committee is essential to its purpose and function. Also, as a healthcare provider serving a vulnerable population, I respectfully request that any members associated with the Town of Unionville Republican Committee Facebook page encourage immediate removal of my name from the recent post. Associating my name with divisive political posts has the potential to disrupt care and harm to patient therapeutic process. Sincerely, Dawn R. Tree. I think that the Facebook and all of that nonsense is just getting out of control. I'm glad it's over, and I just hope there are no more vicious attacks on people like this. John?
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everyone that went out and voted. It's great that we had a good turnout this year. It's always encouraging when residents are getting more interested in the government process. And really, our form of government, it's critical that we have voters and we have candidates, and it's great that we had opposition. I thank everybody that ran for any office, and hope people will continue to run for office and keep the democratic process running smoothly. On a separate note, I reviewed a lot of correspondence from the Dutchess County Transportation Council this past week. They had a ballot they sent to our supervisor, which her and I reviewed, and it's basically they wanted the town to approve the endorsement of performance management targets for Dutchess County Public Transportation and Metropolitan Transportation Authority. This is performance requirements for maintenance of equipment in order to get federal money, federal grant money. So very nicely, the supervisor voted for it, and Unionville is supporting this effort to help get more federal money for transportation in the county.
Thanks, John. Karina?
Well, hopefully Dave went as well, but I went to that webinar that I had said I would go to last meeting, the Appropriated Fund Balance webinar. And again, I'm very grateful for the comptroller, that our current comptroller is very, not only is interested in the auditing process, but is interested in offering lots of free educational opportunities for town board members so we can be more informed. And I found the Appropriated Fund Balance webinar so incredibly informative. It is a very complicated task, and I look forward, especially in creating that 5-year plan, to really get an appropriated fund balance going and in a legal manner in the appropriate accounts in the future.
Dave?
Yes, I did take that webinar. I also took another webinar on, clean energy communities. There was a meeting at Cornell Cooperative that I was going to go to, but I was up in Albany instead at the time, and I couldn't make that. That was on communities moving forward again with clean energy. I'd like to congratulate John and Steve and Betsy, on their election.
And Andrea.
And Andrea. Yes. Can't forget Andrea. That's right. Can't forget Andrea. I think that's all I have at this time. I wasn't expecting this tonight.
Steve?
Want to echo John's sentiments about the election and thank the residents for their support. Going back to that email you just read, further down in that email, there was a response from me. I sent Ryan my phone number and requested that he call me so I could clarify what was supposed to happen with that truck. And he neglected to do so, and that's how we ended up where we are.
I did not receive that email.
Well, it's in there.
Is that it? That's all you have?
That's all I have.
Okay. Public comments on agenda items?
I do not have a report tonight, but I just wanted to be available right now. If there were any comments or any concerns about our budget line items, I did send all town board members, including Patty and Andrea and Ryan, a rundown of some of the comments that I had after that budget was talked about, and I wanted to really just basically clarify some of the lines and make sure I would like to be as transparent as possible, open to further communication before the budget is adopted, and I also want you to know that I know that this is a working document. I understand that some of the items will not kind of be worked out in our favor as we expect them to be, but we're okay with that, as long as we do have that communication and some compromise. So, if there are any comments on the communication that I sent to you, please feel free to ask. And then one more thing is the financial statements that we keep down at the park, and I wanted you to be able to see that because in the last board meeting, there were some questions about concession stand revenue and a couple other items, so I wanted you to have that in your hands.
Okay, I just want to comment on your memo about the position for Recreation Secretary. Yeah, I understand Betty Albrecht is not planning on leaving us and that we want to shift her to being, focusing more on the equestrian center and that we should put in $3,255 for her for next year because she can be more effective, focused on the equestrian center, which still brings in a fair amount of revenue to the town.
Absolutely. And the equestrian center is something that Betty and I discuss a lot because I think it's a really beautiful and important asset to our surrounding community. So we want to try and grow it as much as possible. And as you can see in the, just kind of the information that I gave you as back matter, that combining her two positions, I mean, she's obviously not in it for the money. She really enjoys what she does for us in Unionville, and she's been doing that for years and years. So combining those two positions actually saves over $2,000. So, you know, I just thought that was a good fiscal move and a better way to use her appropriately.
Yeah, no, I commend you on your plan, and I think it's a good one. The equestrian center does very well financially, and I hate to see what happened to the ballpark revenue happen to the equestrian center, where we kind of lost out on getting any revenue out of the ball fields. So I'm glad you're focused on it and continue that revenue stream.
Yeah. And to comment on the field revenue, we did see a decline in the past, but as we move forward, I mean, Beekman uses it, the youth soccer, the adult soccer. If you're out here on the weekends, it's really just packed and full. So I think in the future reports, you're going to see that revenue be more consistent and grow. So
And they added a soccer field
we
this
did.
year. So.
We did because we had a
But
lot
I mean,
of
we
interest.
lost out on all the baseball revenue.
Yeah, women's softball did use it this
We're getting
summer,
it back.
and and they even utilized Godfrey Park at times too. So it was
Good.
really nice to see.
I think I'm not entirely understanding the seasonal secretary because if I read her report to us correctly, taking out her stipend, the profit was $400. But we're not really saving $2,000 if we're giving her more money to go there since it only got $400. It would only make sense to give her the $400 profit.
In the big picture, it saves $2,000 in that one budget line if you're just focused on the equestrian center line. You know, the equestrian center doesn't make tons of money. It breaks even, and that's really the goal to provide that service. So just in the bigger picture, when we scooted over that seasonal secretary, it may look like, you know, we're losing money in that equestrian line, but you know, with all of the rec revenue, it will really balance out. And I'm curious to see what doing that will either improve or keep neutral, or we'll just have to see. So I would appreciate just supporting that idea and seeing if it does make a little bit of a positive impact.
Okay.
You were talking about the concession stand, and you're showing a revenue this year of $20,040, but you're budgeting $31,017.
In
Is
this
your
year's
request.
budget or last year's?
This year's budget. I mean, that's an $11,000 loss that you're starting with. I mean, why?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look at exactly what the final department request was and look at the reasoning behind that. I would like to see everything break even, so we're obviously not losing money. That's the goal.
You know, the department request was for, altogether for the concession stand, $33,017, and then we proposed $31,17, but that's still $11,000 that we're losing.
The way that I see it and the way it was discussed with Ryan too, is that also includes the personnel, is that correct?
That includes the personnel
Everything.
too.
And the concession stand is kind of a shared service with the summer camps and all of that. And in our mind, we think of the concession stand staff, like pool staff, is shared with the summer camp. So with the revenue that the summer camp makes, it accounts for a little portion of that.
Same with the pool, because without
Well,
a pool,
yeah, I
we
mean-
wouldn't have a summer camp, so you can't really isolate one aspect and say that has to stand alone financially.
But again,
It
the
all works
pool,
together.
the pool is operating at a $58,000 loss.
Mhm.
Now, part of that has to go to the recreation, because without the pool, we wouldn't
Right.
have the recreation
Right, we wouldn't
programs
have
that
camp.
we've got. But if you add in, a $10,000 loss on the concession stand, and even saying half the loss on the $30,000 on the pool, that just about takes care of all the profit that you've made in the camp. So maybe we're breaking even,
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems a little bit high to me. I just wanted to bring that up. I
Okay.
mean, have we considered, I know LaGrange, right now, they've, for their baseball, and they're looking at it for their pool, renting out the facility to a concessionaire, and then you're getting money in, period, and any losses are theirs, not ours.
We have done that.
Yeah, we've done that and it
Yep.
hasn't worked out.
No. I mean, I can, if you come see me and have more of a conversation, we could really itemize some of the data from like the times that we did that, and crunch some more numbers.
I mean, I'm just going by what I've seen, especially with LaGrange, and like I say, LaGrange is expanding theirs now because they found out that, yes, having people there, and they actually had people there that were volunteers, that they're making more money by just renting out the facility, but they're getting the rent in advance. Everything else is his problem.
Well, call
That's
in
all I wanted to bring up.
volunteers. Come see me.
That's all I had.
Any other comments?
I had some questions about like the passenger van. So you gave us two options. You really said you want us to lease one. But really, going forward, if we wanted to see if this is successful, $10,000 gets us a bus, a driver, and liability insurance. Because $15,000 is the lease. That doesn't include a driver, doesn't include liability.
What
So,
size van is it?
Really?
I believe it's 17 passenger.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets involved once you exceed 8 passengers. I'm in that industry,
Yeah.
you're aware of. There are a lot of things that happen once you exceed 8 passengers, and
Yeah, who would be
That gets
driving,
pretty
who would be
costly
driving
and-
it?
Any licensed.
See, that's an
They
issue.
would have to have a
Yeah.
CDL
That's an
license,
issue, I
yeah.
think.
And again, these are things that I
Liabilities.
wanted to bring to the
Right.
table to discuss.
It's a lot of
Obviously, I'm not,
responsibility.
I'm not expecting all of these pie-in-the-sky visions for our rec department. But I wanted to just open that discussion, see what the town board thinks. Using First Student or another company to do that kind of trial run for a year, that might be an option for us. It depends on what you want and what you want to see for the town. I just have been racking my brain for even years now, thinking of how to include those Unionville residents who are in that Millbrook School District. So if you have any great ideas, come see me and I will be more than happy to talk them out with you.
Okay.
I mean, I think even as a town board member, I'm not open to those students. Like, I know some of those students, but, like, I would want, like, to know we have, 15 committed kids to coming. Like, parents are willing to put it on a deposit. Because if we end up with 5 kids, $2,000 a kid, we're really asking the town to subsidize somebody's childcare. And I've used childcare up until recently. So I would never ask anyone to pay for my kids' childcare. So I think that's really kind of a sticky issue.
Yeah.
So I think it's something to consider in the future, but we may not be there without a commitment from those families
Right.
yet. Like,
And what
maybe
about the
that's something-
homeschoolers?
What about
What
the
do you mean?
homeschoolers?
I mean, if we're gonna bus people in from
Well,
the Millbrook School District, why wouldn't we have to go and also pick up the kids that are homeschooled? They live
Well,
in this
that's it.
town also.
Yeah, that's a completely different dynamic. I think they love homeschool for the very reason that they don't have to stick to a schedule and they
Yeah.
can make their own schedule.
Right,
And
but if they wanna come to camp
For the
and
social
everyone else
aspect.
is getting
Yeah.
bused here, why shouldn't
Right,
they?
can't-
well, that's not
Disqualify
Can't
for,
disqualify them, Rachel,
well, it's not for camp. It's not for camp. That was
or
just
for
during.
whatever.
I mean, I know it's
Absolutely
recreation,
more than
social,
welcome
but
to come.
probably they need it more than anybody.
And we do events for the homeschoolers. We're going on our 4th year of the Takeover Time War Park Day, where the local homeschoolers come and enjoy a social field day kind of experience, and it's really great. We have some wonderful feedback, and, you know, it's a good time for everyone. Homeschoolers, they're more than welcome to come to our after-school program. They're more than welcome to join us for summer camp. We don't provide any transportation, picking up or dropping off for a summer camp. That's just all up to every individual family, so.
and just about the bus again, like you had a great idea to use it for the seniors on their trip, but there's more than 17 seniors
Oh, yes.
that go on a trip, right?
It was-
So we wouldn't be using it for that. We'd still
Smaller
have to rent
trips.
from JTR or
They have their
something.
own transportation
Right. Well,
at
I
the
mean,
fountains.
well, but that would mean only 17 people going from Timor, and there's more than that, because they usually fill a large bus.
Yes, the last trip they just had, they had about 37
Yeah. So we
seniors,
really
adults.
wouldn't
So,
use
yeah,
it.
we.
Yeah, but just let's say we had it, you could do smaller satellite trips, more local trips, and you wouldn't have to get a large bus for over $1,000 for an outing. An outing with 15 people could potentially work.
Well, it's something to think about.
I had a question about the kids camp director. So just to clarify, it's a director, it's not an additional director, you just want a director for 8 weeks instead
Correct.
of 4 weeks?
Correct.
You're not like doubling
No.
it for person, it's for time?
Correct.
Okay,
We only need one.
okay, okay.
And we would like to see the expansion from the 4-week program to the 8-week program to sync up with our session 1, session 2, session 3, and session 4. Because parents have kids of multiple
Various.
age groups, and it makes it really hard when their
Yeah.
school-age kids can come, and then the little ones are
Yeah.
left out for the first 2 weeks and last 2 weeks, so.
Okay. And as far as the low ropes course, do you have that quote from our insurance company? You said that you looked into liability insurance, so do
So
you
with-
have the quote
With
from them?
NYMER, I do not yet, but there is separate insurance that comes with the whole package from these companies, and they work together with municipal insurance to communicate. But I do have that quote with me if you'd like to look at it a little more in depth from two Project Adventure and High Five that do this for a living. So those would be, you wouldn't want to make something like that on your own because it doesn't come with that insurance already from the ground up. So I do have those if you want to look at them.
Yeah, I think I would want to know that NYMER is in agreement that
Yes.
they would participate. Because it's not so much I'm worried about when you can have supervision. It's that 2 years I've been on the town board, I hear a lot about the nonsense that happens in the park that we continually try and deal with, and any, people being there when they're not supposed to, or vandalism, or drinking, or pot smoking, or whatever else they're doing there.
Yeah, sometimes they come to the
And-
park to do that.
Yeah, but now if we have ropes course, we're sort of like inviting more trouble.
I hear you. That could
Yeah.
be another discussion.
Yeah, it's a concern.
It would
Yeah.
concern me
Yeah.
just based
Attractive
upon,
nuisance.
we can't staff it 24/7 for somebody to be watching it, for somebody to not do something they shouldn't do.
Right. I think no matter what, people will be doing that. So
Right, which is
it
why
just-
we shouldn't attract more. Right? I
Right.
mean, if we can somehow fence it off, but that would make it
a whole
sort of
other
like.
expense, and then
And it sort of takes away Timer Park. It sort of takes away the beauty of why would we want some big fenced-in thing?
Yeah,
right.
it's a dilemma, it is.
Yeah.
So regardless, those are just some of the ideas and further information behind some of those line items because I didn't want anyone to leave confused or what in the world is this? So there you have it. And if there's
Okay.
anything else you need to discuss with me on a more private level, feel free, and I'm here for the duration of the meeting, so.
Very good.
I actually really appreciate the way that you put this together, and I think probably going forward as a town board, we should ask when all the budget goes through, because I love that you just like gave a line and sort of gave us your synopsis, so we didn't have to go through Ryan and Patty and back to us and how things, so I actually
Right.
would love to see this from every single department next year, like at least a synopsis of
Right.
what the numbers are, because I thought it was really well done.
Agreed.
Thank you. It was very clear.
Yeah, we understand the thought process.
Yeah,
Very
I
efficient.
really, I know, I really appreciated, I mean, this was a long
Thank you.
effort, so I appreciate all that you put into it.
Thank you.
So if we can,
And there's
like,
other like municipalities and stuff that put together a budget booklet or something.
Yeah.
That
I've seen
communicates that well, so. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be around.
Hello, my name is Betsy Moss. I live on Clove Road. Comments on agenda items, I just wanted to mention a couple things. We weren't going to bring it up, but since you did, the $194,000 was mentioned, it was my question at the last board meeting, so I think I should clarify. It wasn't mentioned because we were worried about who got what email and whether it was a lease purchase or a bond. The reason it was mentioned is because money was moved without town board approval. And when you get dumped on, that was dumped on your lap, and I recognize that. All of a sudden, a truck shows up and a bill arrives for $194,000. That's a big surprise. And what we looked at and noticed was that for your business advisor, who was Ryan Cortine, in 2012 in the town of Dover, in their audit, they had said, Ryan, please look to lease purchases in order to save your town cash. And given that he had been notified about that in his own audit in 2012, and given that you were surprised by this $194,000 getting dropped in your lap, you weren't expecting that truck, and given that we looked in the budget and it was a $47,000 budget line that Lizette and her board had prepared, which was just lease payments for 2 trucks, recognizing that you were surprised, wasn't fair to you, we were actually disappointed that your advisor hadn't prepared you better, and they still allowed money to be, he transferred the money from one account to another without telling the head of the department, and then you wrote a check for cash out of capital projects without a resolution, without letting anybody know, which is improper. It wasn't you personally, it wasn't him personally, these are bad management decisions, and it was dumped in your lap. It had nothing, it was more about Ryan Cortine not giving you good advice. It's not about lease bond, that's irrelevant. Transferring money without the town board knowing was the point. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, I have to applaud Dawn Tree. I think it's lovely that I'm sure she's eminently qualified. She sounds like a lovely person. She'd probably be great on the board. The Facebook post that was posted as a result of the fact that you have comments on agenda items, but when you say comments on agenda items, you're only allowed to talk about the agenda items, and in your agenda, you mentioned the ethics committee and you passed a resolution. You never listed whose names were on there, so nobody could therefore comment in advance. After you made that resolution with everybody's names being told publicly, there were no longer comments on agenda items, there were just comments on non-agenda items, so it cut off the discussion. Therefore, nowadays, my son tells me everybody goes to social media, and that posting that was made had to do with the fact that sponsored by Democrats, people on this board, 3 people approved a committee a new ethics board, which is extremely important, of 5, the standing committee, not the alternates, of 5 Democrats, or people that are sponsored by or associate with Democrats. So therefore, the town is going to be suspicious of this committee right from the get-go, and it makes it less effective. I want to just say I applaud Dawn Tree for resigning from that committee. She sounds like a lovely person. I haven't met her, but I think the fact that she resigned, recognizing that it was a conflict of interest, it looked suspicious or wouldn't get broad-based support, is terrific. And, at some point in the future, maybe she would consider coming back on that committee. Lastly, I would say that on your budget, if we're going to have that discussion tonight, I don't know if Ryan's coming to the meeting to present anything, but if there's a public hearing on that, I know it's really important. Apparently, the highway department's personnel was cut not inconsistent with what the department had asked for and wants and needs. So I would ask you to respectfully consider putting that back in, given that the budget, the department head wants the personnel that he needs to get the job done. So I'd ask you to please consider doing that, all right? Thank you very much.
I would like to request, as the administrator of that page, that you remove Dawn Tree's name. As a nurse practitioner,
Excuse me, the Dawn Tree's name, if you've read the post, was removed the day that the gentleman on the board requested it.
I
Her
read
name
it
is not on
today.
that board. No, you didn't. Well, you may have
October
it.
20th, I read it today.
Today's not October 20th,
No.
and Dawn Tree's no longer there.
I read today.
It's not on
scrolled
there,
down.
Corinna. It's not on there.
Okay, I'll find it during the
Everybody,
meeting. Thank you.
If you want to be sure, go to the Unionville Republican Committee Facebook page and look for the page, or the posting that was dated October 20th. There was nobody's named Dawn Tree on there. I believe what I was sent when I was permitted to look at it was Thomas Beiswinger's spouse. So take a look. It was removed out of respect, and because the gentleman on the board requested it to be done, so it was done. But anyway, congratulations to Dawn Tree, and thank you for considering the Highway Department's
Okay,
budget.
read from my phone where it still says Dawn Tree,
Corinna,
Betsy.
You tell
Betsy,
Patty what to do, don't tell me what to do.
I'm not telling you what to do. This is very disrespectful. You can look at my phone right now and read her name clear as day. You just stood there and said it's not there. It says Brian Johnston, Dem. William Sadler, Dem. Dawn Tree, Democratic fundraiser, next door neighbor to William Sadler, wife of current Democratic town board candidate. You don't even say Thomas Beiswinger's name there. Dennis Biddy, Dem. Alternative members, Marnie Bass, Peter Baum.
Can I see that? Did Dawn Tree, when she wrote her letter to you, did she talk about, when did she write, what's the date of her letter?
I don't know why mine says
You read the letter, do you have a
1/2/17.
date for it?
1/2/17, mine
Can't
says.
be.
Can't be.
It must be 10 something. I would have to go through my email, which is
Maybe
on
it's
my
11
phone.
to
When were
17?
these people put
Oh.
on this board? The
Yeah,
last meeting?
11
Last
to,
meeting.
11 to
Okay,
17.
so I
That was,
also have a
the,
problem because
19th of October.
if nobody knew who was going to be on the board the last meeting, how did Mr. Welch read the letter bashing the Sadlers if no one knew who was
Who
going
was
to be on
bashing,
it?
I remember that meeting. I can't answer that question, I wasn't involved with it, I wasn't involved, I don't know that.
I don't think the letter was about the ethics board, though.
Yes, you
Yeah.
called them unethical because the
They
letter
shouldn't be
called
on
them
the ethics
unethical
committee
board,
because-
because they didn't apologize.
So are
or
you
something.
suggesting,
Yeah.
Patty, that you guys interviewed people for the ethics board and then kept that a secret? Is that what that
No,
means?
that's what you suggested.
No, you just
No.
asked, how did people know when they wrote the Sadler letter?
No, you said that before.
You said-
How were we supposed to discuss it when no one
No, on
knew
your-
who was going to be on the ethics committee?
On October 19th. No, I
John read a
didn't say
letter
that.
knowing.
But that wasn't, I don't know how John, I wasn't part of that letter. On your agenda on October 19th, you always have comments for agenda items, and the ethics board resolution was on there, but nowhere on the agenda, I came in and just got the agenda. Nowhere on the agenda did you list the names of the people. I did know the names of the people.
Well, residents knew the name of the people, obviously. I
Not
don't-
all
I mean,
residents, I'm only
They
one.
got it.
Some people may
You
have,
didn't
I'm
know where
only
to look,
one.
maybe, I don't know.
Well, regardless, if you're gonna have comments on agenda items and you want people to comment and you're gonna name a group of people to be on a board, maybe you should list them if you want people to comment on it. It wasn't on there. I wasn't
So
aware.
you're saying
So you
that
could've stood up
anybody
and
who's
asked.
employed by the town's people should be able to make a decision, not the town board?
No, let me make it clear.
Didn't say that
So
at
that
all.
I didn't say that at all. What I said was, at the last town board meeting, you guys revealed the names in the middle of the meeting of the people that were gonna be on an ethics board. On the comments on agenda items, which is prior to when you revealed the names, nobody knew who was going to be on the ethics board, therefore nobody was able to comment on who the people were. After the meeting is over, or towards the end of the conclusion of your regular business meeting, you have comments on non-agenda items. So nobody can comment on what you just went through with the ethics board because we were only allowed to comment on non-agenda items. Had you posted the names in the agenda that you were going to announce, or perhaps posted the resolution with their names included, you could have gotten some comments about the fact that there were 5 Democrats being put on an ethics board committee, but you didn't announce those names publicly. I didn't know who they were.
But the town board interviewed these people, and the town board...
That's irrelevant. The point is,
But
nobody
the town
knew.
board decided that these people were going to be...
Okay, that's fine. But you asked for comments on agenda items, nobody could comment. Therefore, people commented on Facebook because they didn't have any other alternative. You didn't provide one in the meeting, is the point. You interviewed and you picked them, that's fine. But there was no other way to talk about them, so it went to a different alternative.
Well, getting back to my point, please respectfully remove Dawn Tree's name. It is inappropriate and it risks her actual license. It's very serious. Please remove her name from the post. And don't say it's not there, because everyone can go home and see it. I just looked at it myself and read it out loud.
I think the confusion is there were 2 posts about it. I can't find it on your phone, but there were 2 posts about it, and I think I just think the confusion is that there were definitely 2 posts, and I think you guys get the gist. It's better that these things be diversified so everybody, you get broad-based support, and that's that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Everybody can go home and look. I don't know where the second post is or the first post because I'm not used to your phone.
Well, because there is still a post, please remove this post that I read out loud. Or at least remove her name.
Next.
Is this thing working?
Yes.
I
hope so.
guess so.
Sounds
It's
good.
kind of far.
All right, I was an interviewee, Tillman, Shaughnessy Road, still.
Yes, you were in
I was
it.
an interviewee. Nobody on the board asked my political affiliation.
Not important.
I don't think, right, ethics should have nothing to do with political affiliation, in my view. So, does it matter?
No.
There weren't many people that even came.
Right, you had
And applied.
6 or 8 people,
Yeah.
9 people, 10, whatever. But John, you read a letter at the beginning of the meeting from Tana talking about, and
Who was
we
on the
hadn't
board,
even
so how
gotten
did
to
she
the
know?
ethics committee in the, what's this thing called?
The agenda.
The agenda, thank you. Don't get old, you're not going to like it, I've told you that before. So that opened Pandora's box, I think, that letter.
Okay.
Now, Betsy just said, you 3 are Democrats?
I'm not.
Republican,
I'm not.
Democrat, NOP,
NOP.
and a Republican. So where did the 3 Democrats come
Don't
from?
misquote, Elfrida. I said they were endorsed and sponsored by.
Well, I didn't hear that part. Again, I'm deaf, what can I say? I didn't hear that part. I just heard 3 Democrats. Political parties should have nothing to do with this.
No.
I don't think.
Or anything
Okay,
else.
that's it.
Yes?
Hi, I was going to speak about this later, but apparently it's been introduced, so I'm asking, may I speak about it now? It really has to do with printed material that is disseminated and the effect of that on the community. Betsy, I've never met you, but
She left.
oh, I just wrote down what Betsy had said.
Oh, Ann McCabe.
Oh, I'm Ann McCabe, and I am affiliated with a Democrat. I am one, and I'm married.
Wait a minute, move this thing. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, how sturdy is that rope there? That- whatever
Sturdy.
the thing's
She
called.
should.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, turn a little sideways. So the TV
That's
can
fine.
see you.
This is all in regards to.
So I had written down what Ms. Moss had said, and she said that 5 are Democrats or are associated with Democrats. Those were her words. And 3, excuse me, I apologize. 3 are associated with Democrats. Political parties are very necessary for our system of government. And I congratulate those who won, as I did on our Democratic website, because it's a victory for democracy. John, I think you put it very well,
Oh, thanks.
that every time there's an election and people turn out to vote, It wasn't a high turnout, which is not to put down your election. I believe it was somewhere in the 30s. It would be nice to see 99% of the town turn out. I think we both share that. But it was a victory for democracy. And I wish all the newly elected and re-elected well, because I live in this town, I love this town, I work hard for this town. I've gone door to door, and I want to congratulate all the nice Republicans who brought me into their home and sat down, some of whom agreed with me, some of whom didn't, but they were so gracious, and conservatives, and independents, and NOPs, and Democrats. But I really wanted to talk later about the social media issue. There is a post from the Democratic Committee and from the Republican Committee on Facebook.
Is up. Typically, if the town takes over the road, they accept the drainage district as well, and then the taxes kick in, or the fees for this drainage district kick in. That's what's occurring right now.
Who
This,
maintains the schedule for the upkeep?
that's through my office and the town engineer. It's basically in the guidebook of the DEC. So there's these regulations that have to be followed. It has to be documented, so that if the town ever gets audited, we have the documentation to back up that we've been doing the proper thing. Okay.
I got one question, because this is a question that was posed to me. Who's responsible for cleaning up the, keeping the area looking decent?
The district?
Yeah.
The area of the district?
Yeah.
That would be the maintenance of the district, absolutely.
That's the town.
That's the town? Okay.
That's the.
Usually
Because
like a
this
highway
was a
department
thing
or
that was-
maintenance
Yeah, like-
department.
We contracted out.
Will
if we
mow
have to.
it,
Yeah.
weed whack it, whatever.
There's boundaries.
But it hasn't been done, that's why I.
No,
was
it
asking.
hasn't. This is our first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has been done up to this point, and then we are looking at starting maintenance probably on this in the spring. That's something I have to sit down with the supervisor and the board to discuss exactly how we're going to do this. There's several ways that we can do that, whether we job this out, or bid it out, or whether we do it in-house, and that's to be decided by the board, not me. I will be presenting the board
Okay,
with
because I mean,
different
the people,
options.
the people asked me, because they're out there mowing it.
Because we just took it over. We just took it over. They did it up to August. So now it's ours. Now it's ours.
And if they
Not
continue
ours,
mowing
it's-
it, it
it's-
saves them money, because we don't have to raise the tax.
That's
come
true.
out.
That's
Or,
true.
really. So
But
it's in their own best
as
interest.
I'm gonna look at next season, because typically that's when it's done, other than the periodic inspections, we will be starting this up probably in the spring.
Okay.
And hopefully for the first 2 years, it's just a matter of minor maintenance. But as the years go on, as you know, anything else, it deteriorates. That's what the inspections are for, and then it's gonna be pointed out to the board. And as it says, in the map plan and report, if it, for some reason, that $2,600 doesn't take care of what we need to take care of, that budget is to put in next year's, and it's raised the following year with
Right.
board approval.
Right.
So, any other questions?
Very comprehensive, thanks, George.
Okay.
No.
Any
public comments?
Does
Or
it start
question?
out at 3?
Excuse me?
Is it starting out at 3
At 3 what?
homes? Lots.
No, there's 10 lots in this
No.
subdivision.
It's full.
The federal regulations specifies that it starts at 3
It doesn't
lots?
specify.
Oh.
Typically, it's done over 3 lots. 4 lots or more typically is when it kicks in. But there's a lot to do with the size of the area that's disturbed. It has a lot to do with everything.
Yeah.
So, it's all in their guidelines, which is the book,
Mm-hmm.
2 inches there. And it gets more and more every year. As Patty knows, I attend meetings every month just to keep up on this so that we're on top of it.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
The Meadows, right?
Yes.
On the
On the Burbank Meadows Drainage District.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I do have a question for the attorney. Tom, is this something that we have to do every single year?
Yes, this is a
As
taxing
part of a
district.
tax.
So, in going forward, George, you gave a very good explanation. Every district that the town takes over would have to have a public hearing.
Okay, every single year?
Correct.
Okay.
The members of that district, I mean, it's open to the town,
Right.
Right.
but specifically the members of those districts
Okay.
should have a reason, have a mechanism to come speak to the board. Let's say it's a year where you need repair and it's going
Right.
to be significant.
Okay,
Right.
They could speak to the board if this is their avenue to speak to the board
Okay.
publicly at the public hearing.
great, thank you.
Okay. So now I'd like to open the
Next public hearing.
public hearing on the 2018 town budget.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Are there any comments, public comments on the 2018 town budget?
I found the budget that Ryan put out were very hard to follow, but this is the things I did pick up. You did not follow the department heads, the superintendent of highways suggestion that he keep his 4 men. I suggest, for the benefit of the highway department and keeping the highways clean, you add the 4th man. I didn't happen to see a secretary listed for the planning board or the ZBA. Maybe I missed it, but there is a secretary needed to do minutes and send out notices and all the rest of the legalities that are needed for planning board and ZBA. And also, I did ask for you to put money in the budget for the Burbank Rural Cemetery, which does not have enough money to complete the mowing for next year. Now, if you want to see it grow up in hay, that's fine. But legally, you can give us money to get the mowing done. All we do is mowing. You can see the fence is awful, but the only thing we do is the mowing. And unfortunately, trustees are in their 80s. And we can't do the mowing anymore.
That's no excuse.
Physical. Thank you, John.
Good idea.
Maybe we could, we could get the fence would hold in a few sheep. If we could get a few sheep and let them chew it. Anyway, we have enough, I think, for next year, we would need about $2,000. Or you could have Tommy sent over the maintenance man, or Jacob. Mowing cemetery is going around all those gravestones. It's a nuisance. But anyway, that might be a thing that would come up. Just those 3 things that I have.
So
Okay.
I did just want to speak
hold
to
on.
your cemetery request.
I want to speak to her first.
Go ahead.
All right, regarding the 4 men in the highway department, he's had 3 men since September 6th. And before that, he had a man that exhausted all of his sick and personal time and was using time, and it didn't seem to be a problem. And he didn't hire a man or even request to hire a man after September 6th. I don't know what he was waiting for. And I did a lot of research on the previous years, and in December of 2015, I think there may have been 2, maybe 4 days out of the entire month that there was 4 men on the job. And then you had the year when he had a gentleman that was sick and was out of work, and he was 6 months with 3 guys. So I just assumed that he can do it with 3 guys. He's not replacing the gentleman that left, but we did give him an extra winter guy and 2 summer help, which he's never had before, he's never requested. And in the beginning, January of 2016, I said to him, why don't you request for summer help? And he just never did. So if he gets 2 summer guys, that's 5 guys in the summer he has, and 5 guys in the winter.
Okay, well,
And
that
it saves-
that was my opinion, Patty. That was.
Okay, I'm just explaining why I even thought of these things, because, let's face it, there's hardly ever more than 3 guys there.
Yeah, well, also, he's been attacked just about every time he came to the mic at every single meeting, so maybe he was holding back a little bit.
Then, regarding the the secretary for the zoning and planning, back in, January of 2017, we let everyone know that the combined title that we use is land use secretary,
It's
and
in
yes, it is in there.
It's in there.
What is the title you're
Land use secretary.
She does both.
She does both, planning and zoning.
It's just change in title, so it moved number.
And instead of taking half the salary from zoning and half the salary from planning, or these hours from there and those hours from there, all of her hours are just taken from the land use.
Oh,
It's,
also 9710, 9060, and 9040 have 2 pages in the budget.
9710, 9640, and what was the other one?
9710,
Yeah.
9060, and 9040 on the budget I picked up at the last meeting.
60.
9060,
Those numbers are on 2 different pages.
904. Okay.
But I did
We'll
want to
look into
let
that.
you know, I really did exhaustively look into your cemetery request. I spoke with the comptroller's office, and I spoke with Tom. It's unfortunately really out of the question. There will be money if you go through the state, but due to it being a private cemetery, we can't just take it over. And if you gift it to us, this is the bizarre thing that the comptroller's office told me, we have to exhume the bodies and move them elsewhere and use that land for profit. And I said, we're not exhuming any bodies. That's totally disrespectful.
I did.
So there will be opportunities through the state, and I do encourage you. I did look into that exhaustively, again, both with Tom and with the comptroller's office, and it's just not an option for the town to take over a private cemetery.
I did apply to the state because we do have 2 CDs. One is 24,000, one is about 74, and I thought if the state would let us use part of those CDs, we'd be fine for another 10 or 15 years because we're very frugal. But I got a letter, I went through Kiernan Lawler, and he got a letter back from the state saying the only way I could use those funds is if they created an excess of, I don't know what the term is, but when you have an investment that increases in value, and our investments are increasing in
the
value.
interest on the,
No, not interest, there's
No?
something,
Appreciation?
capital gains.
Okay.
If we had capital gains, we could use part of the capital gains.
Oh, so you have to invest them in stuff. Take it out of that safe stuff. I just would like to comment on the comments about the highway department. I think it's great that you do all the research and that you understand, but it sounds like if he's only got 3 people and then again somebody gets sick, then he's down to 2 people, which is untenable. So if you could just consider deferring to the department head who's been doing it for a long time and he feels comfortable and he knows what he needs, if you would consider doing that, I think, it would be on him whether it worked or it didn't work, but if he's running so tight that if anybody gets sick, he's got nowhere to go, it makes it difficult for the town to give good service. So if you'd consider that, that would be great.
Just want to clarify something I heard. I guess as a shorthand, the 9,000 series budget pages, most of them there are 2 of because there's all the employee benefits and stuff like that for the A fund,
Oh,
and then again for the D fund.
fund.
That's why there's
That's what
2
it
of
is.
most of them.
Well, for each fund then?
yes.
Yeah. So all the A fund stuff comes first, and then
Yes.
you'll see the
Correct.
5,000 series stuff for highway, and then 9,000 series for
Correct.
right.
Social Security, Medicare,
Gotcha.
all health insurance, all that stuff.
Makes sense now. Thank you.
Any other? Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the 2018 town budget.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now we'll move to discussions. Ethics policy and procedure. Karina made up policy and procedure that she actually got from...
I didn't really make it up. I got it from the state. They
Okay.
asked me to send them the Word form because the PDF form is what's online. So they sent me the Word document form of the model code of ethics for local governments. So I just went through and put in our town of Unionville and our town board and things like that. Just at the beginning of this discussion, I just want to say, announce to the public, please, we are now accepting ethics board's applications again.
For an alternate.
At this point, we are hoping, we will speak with Peter Bonk, we are hoping he would, he was an alternate, we were hoping he would move to the board. That would give 2 NOPs, 2 Democrats, and 1 Republican on the existing ethics board, and then our assumption would be that we'd be filling the alternate spot. But again, we have not gotten Peter's yes to that right now.
Well, we have to discuss that amongst us,
so
too.
that would be the hope. So, but I did go through like a few different things, so I really think it's important in setting it up. It's brand new. I really couldn't find anywhere in Unionville other than that it's in our code, and what our code says about it, what the process and procedure was before. So again, I reached out to the state. They were great. The document on the model code of ethics for a town is pretty thorough. The one thing I do think we could add or may want to add, some states have criteria of how often you have to be trained, like planning board and zoning board, and they have to go through. Ethics board doesn't have that. New York, I'm sorry, in some states they do, but in New York State, they just allow it up to the municipality. So I don't know if we want to create a language that's very specific, like every 3 years, or a language that's a little more open, because some of our people have a term of like 5 years, right, or something. I forget what all the terms are. 3 years. So maybe we do want to say every 3 years, or
Well, every time you're reappointed.
upon appointment, or, it could be more open language, or it could be more specific language. I worry when we make it too specific that, like, we're the ones that have to provide the training, and like I said, the Association of Towns is coming down. They're going to do that training on the 30th this month, from 6:30 to 8:30, and it's been advertised to other communities as well, so they can get on board and have their ethics boards trained. But for the future, we'll probably have to secure that ourselves. They did give me some ideas of how to go about that and get that for free. But, hopefully you've had a whole week to look it over and you've seen that. The other things I included were like the actual procedure and what that would look like, so that somebody knows, well, I have a complaint, how do I do that? And we can actually have a procedure, we can put it up on the website, it can have like the document they can print. I have 2 sample documents. I think I only sent you one, but I found the other one afterwards. There's 2 sample documents. I actually like some of both, so I wonder if like we could merge them and create a very user-friendly, I think the easier we make it for somebody, the better, so that they don't feel like just doing this process is arduous. The one does require like that, the second one you have actually requires that it's like a sworn statement, so they would have to come into Andrea and get a notary public's signature but that would actually prove that this is them and this is their sworn statement. That could be judicious for the town board. So I didn't know if anyone had any markings or ideas or things that you looked up yourself and thought maybe it was not.
Well, from what I saw,
Thorough.
you're pretty much exactly what the state is, so I think we can't go wrong if we stay with that. That doesn't give us any additional risk or room for criticism, because we're just following the state authorized guidance, and maybe we should wait on this till we have the training and find out if there's something we should add or lacking, or get their input from the Association of Towns.
I think it came from them. It was
Okay.
them or the Office of General Services. I would have to look back, but Yeah, it was one of those state offices. So how would everyone want to go about, like, do you feel there is a specific need to put in training and what our expectations are? So this would go along with the town code that already exists, which says basically how it's made up. And then there would be a actual code of ethics, and then there would be the actual procedure and how, going forward, somebody puts something before the code of ethics. Would we want to see specifics on training? Would we want to leave that open? Would we want to make a very open statement about it?
I would like to see that the person gets, when the person's appointed, they should have training within a certain period, either before or after their appointment. So at least they know what they're doing.
Okay. So training.
And let's see what people think is time frame, but 90 days or less. This way, you're not going to get somebody on there that hasn't a clue.
Okay.
I'm hoping if you give them 90 days, they could find a free seminar or
Yeah, a
free
webinar or
training
something.
Right.
Webinar or something.
Well,
Yeah.
and like we are having one, so anyone that's newly appointed in another town is being offered to come
Right,
to
to
ours
come here,
too. So
yeah.
like we could
Other towns
piggyback
may
off
offer-
of
yeah.
that. And, you know,
Yeah.
they might have to drive a half an hour, but you know, piggyback off of that. Hopefully there's somewhere in,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to burden
Arrange.
people, but I think
Right.
they need to have some training to be effective.
what I also wanted to see is like, the state of Massachusetts actually does an online training. So you can actually like, okay, if you really can't find it, so that's like super. Yeah, I think it's better to be in person. I like in-person things, but I'm like, but New York doesn't have that because they don't have the
Yeah.
specific requirement. So something like training within 90 days of appointment,
Yeah, either way, if you take it ahead of
Yeah.
time or after.
or like prior to or post, I guess.
All right, so
Did anyone have any issues with like how the investigation process, the protocol, it talks about how we receive complaints, any preferences on the two different sheets? I'll tell you, the difference in the second sheet, the only things I would like to add is in the very middle, you see those boxes that says if you're willing to testify under oath to the ethics board, it says yes, and then you proceed to make your complaint. If it says no, it actually says stop and give it to somebody that will. Because it kind of, you know, it's like getting an anonymous letter. As a town board, we do get a lot of anonymous letters. I can just tell you, if you're an anonymous letter writer, there's little we can do because it has little teeth. Like, especially if it's a very specific complaint, we can't even corroborate that it exists if you're not willing to tell us who you are. I also know other people that reached out to us in the town and they're like, please don't tell anyone, don't tell my name, don't give out my number. And like, bless you. And we can honor that too. We totally understand that. This job is not to give out everyone's name and number. But like, this would be way too important if somebody is gonna write us like an anonymous thing. So I did like that part, but I thought the other, you know, had some, you know, other things too. I thought if we just merged so that all of this stuff ended up on it. I did like the idea of them coming in. Andrea has made herself so available. So I did think, I like the idea of them actually coming in, showing her ID, signing it in front of her and having her sign. That gives us corroboration that she indeed did see this person's ID. So they're not filling out some fake name, you know, like that weird Facebook post. It's like, I don't know who that is. So, so that this is way too important if somebody's being reported for an ethics violation and it may impact their life or whatever. So I did like that part, and the first one did not have that. So it's just those few things to merge. Anyone else have any comments?
no, we can, hopefully everyone will look it over, see what they think by the next meeting, and maybe vote on putting this into place.
So Tom, I'll send these documents to you too, adding that in. I know it came from the state, so I know lawyers wrote it, but just so like you as our lawyer, like don't see any other issues. And I'll try and create a merged document out of the other one and send that back out to you guys.
A lot of other towns use this thing.
Yeah.
The safe bet.
Well, when I found it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like everything, this is great. So, and they have right on their PDF. If you want your Word copy, send an email, so they were great.
Okay.
Payroll.
Discussion on the 2017 payroll schedule. So I noticed that
We can't prepay.
at the end, the schedule is supposed to end on December 31st. And we kind of lucked out this year because I think that's the end of the last payroll so, I mean,
Yeah.
the next payroll starts on the 1st of January. We couldn't have made it
Yeah.
easier. But on the sheet that the payroll clerk made up and handed out, she said the last paycheck would be handed out on December 28th. And when I was looking at it, I said to her, but how can that be if you're paying these people for till the 31st?
Yeah, you can't pay in advance.
You can't pay people in advance. And she just said, well, that's how I was told to do it. That's the way they have always done it.
Yes.
And so I want to change that to say December 31st or January 4th actually would be the proper day to hand those paychecks, even though the payroll ended on the 31st, your next paycheck would come to you, because then you would hand the payroll clerk the timesheets, and you would be paid on the 4th. So I want to change that to say January 4th
Yeah.
for the pay,
Yeah.
but it
How
will
about
end
direct
on the
deposit?
4th.
Would that be the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, what would happen is she would get the checks ready that probably the 2nd and 3rd and hand them out on the 4th. Because she cannot get them ready before the 31st, because how do we know that you're gonna come to work on the 31st?
And on all the other weeks for the pay ending, there is a 5-day, like a
Right.
lag,
Yeah,
you
right.
know? From the 2nd to the 7th, from the 16th to the 21st, there's always a lag.
So the
I know
only
in my
reason
business there's a lag.
I even brought this
Yeah.
out was because I think that each and every employee got a copy of that in the beginning of the year, maybe in their
They might
first
have in
paycheck
their
or
check.
something.
Yeah.
But I just want to clarify that we
Yeah.
cannot, they will be paid on the 4th, I
Yeah.
think is that Thursday, right? Yes, I think it's the
But
4th.
it's, yeah,
So that was, I just wanted to explain what that resolution was,
Okay.
why
yep. Can't prepay.
it was a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll move to resolutions. John?
Okay. Resolution authorizing change to payroll schedule. Be resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville hereby authorizes a change in the 2017 payroll schedule by changing the pay date for the final payroll of 2017, which covers the pay period of December 17th, 2017 to December 31st, 2017 to January 4th, 2018.
I'll second. Town board discussion? Roll call vote?
Councilman Welch?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kelly?
Yeah.
Supervisor Hopkins?
Aye.
Councilman Torres?
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Karina?
Okay, personnel change form.
Was this attached, Andrea, the personnel change form?
Yeah.
It was in the email?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
All right, I just
Um,
want to make sure everyone got a copy of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas the town of Unionville has developed an employee change form to be signed by the employee, department head, and supervisor when there has been a change in salary to the employee. Now therefore, be it resolved by the town board of the town of Unionville hereby adopts the town of Unionville employee change form and authorizes its use in town hall. in the town of Unionville, sorry. Be it further resolved that a copy of the executed employee change form shall be kept on file in the office of the town clerk.
I will second that.
Town board discussion?
I thought it was a great idea.
This came from the comptrollers. They,
Excellent.
it should have been in place, and
Yeah.
so we're already fixing things.
Yeah, it's really comprehensive. I like it.
Okay. Roll call vote, Andrea?
Councilman Wells.
Aye.
Councilman McCollum.
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson.
Aye.
Councilman McDermott.
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution approving supervisor as administrator of QuickBooks. Whereas the town of Unionville uses the assistance of QuickBooks, and whereas it is necessary to appoint an administrator for the town of Unionville for QuickBooks, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville hereby appoints Supervisor Patricia Tompkins as administrator for the town of Unionville QuickBooks for the remainder of the 2017 year.
I'll second that.
Town board discussion? Roll call vote, Andrea?
Councilman Wells.
Aye.
Councilman McCollum.
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson.
Aye.
Councilman McCollum.
Aye.
Councilman Fraser.
Aye.
Dave?
Resolution to elect health insurance carrier for 2018. Whereas the town of Unionville has investigated different health care providers and programs to provide health insurance for town employees and retirees, and whereas MVP provides the best coverage at the best price for health insurance and CDPHP for retirees, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville hereby elects to utilize MVP as the 2018 health insurance carrier and CDPHP for retirees in the town of Unionville.
I'll second it.
Town board discussion?
So I'm understanding that MVP is going to be the insurance carrier for current employees and CDPHP for retirees. Is that what this is saying?
Yes, that's what this is saying. The MVP plan, Bill was here at the last meeting and he handed everyone out
Right.
the whole packet. MVP is going up 6% for a plan that is equivalent to what we have with CDPHP, but CDPHP is going up 22 or 26%. I don't remember what it was, but it was in the 20s.
22, I think.
But
Yeah, I just-
the retiree plan with CDPHP, which everyone seems to be happy with, was only going to go up, I think, 3%, so we chose that was a better deal. to
Yeah, I
save
just,
them.
I think I'd like a little clarification in that second line there to specify that MVP is for current employees.
For health insurance for current employees and CDPHP for retirees. That's how you want it to read?
Something along that line, yeah. Something like
Yeah,
For
that.
town
that
employees?
sounds
For
like-
Or for
current,
current?
town
Yeah,
employees?
I said for current, didn't I?
Yeah.
I wrote it.
You said it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think,
town board of town of
I
Unionville has
agree with
investigated
Steve.
different
That,
healthcare-
that's good to clarify that. It didn't,
health insurance for current town employees and retirees.
CDPHP
Okay.
for retirees.
Um,
So we
You
have to
made that
make a,
motion?
we have to make a motion for that, right?
Right, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call vote on the actual resolution.
Councilman Welsh.
Aye.
Councilman McCollum.
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson.
Aye.
Councilman McMorris.
Aye.
Councilman Fraser.
Aye.
Steve?
Resolution accepting Town of Unionville liability insurance for 2017/18. Whereas the Town of Unionville has received price quotes for liability insurance for the Town of Unionville, and whereas the New York Municipal Insurance Reciprocal, NYMER, through Agent Brown & Brown and the Spain Agency has provided the best coverage at the lowest cost of $58,240.13. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board of the Town of Unionville hereby accepts the proposal of NYMER through its agent Brown & Brown and the Spain Agency for liability insurance for the town of Unionville for 2017/18.
I'll second that.
Town board discussion? I think Nymer's been great with us. They
We're
came
really
on
lucky.
board, last year, and
Yeah.
a month later,
We had a
we
crisis.
had a crisis down, and
they're back for
I
more.
gotta tell
Yeah.
you, they,
Yeah,
They didn't dump us yet.
yeah, they came up with a lot of help and funds to get this taken care of, so.
Yeah.
Dave second.
Yes.
Roll call vote, Andrea?
Councilman Welch,
aye.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson,
Aye.
Councilman Torres,
Aye.
Councilman Brady.
Aye.
Okay.
John, I think it's your turn.
Resolution accepting resignation of Recreation Department worker and authorizing hiring of Recreation employee. Whereas the town of Unionville received the resignation of Kim Sabia from her part-time weekend position at the town of Unionville Recreation Department effective Friday, September 22nd, 2017, and whereas the town of Unionville Recreation Department has recommended the hiring of Shane Fulton to part-time weekend position at a rate of $14 per hour effective October 7th, 2017. Now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk of the town of Unionville hereby accepts the resignation of Kim Sabia from her part-time weekend recreation position effective September 22nd, 2017, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville authorizes the hiring of Shane Fulton to part-time weekend recreation department worker at an hourly rate of $14 per hour effective October 7th, 2017.
I'll second.
Okay? Glad somebody did.
Sorry. Delay.
Recreation Director wanted to make a point.
Quick comment, I'm not sure if it should be the parks line, since they are two separate budgets. Kim does come out of that parks budget line, so I don't know if that even matters in the resolution, but just to clarify.
I don't think it does.
It's the Parks Department?
Well,
So
so
we
instead
can-
of Unionville Recreation Department, it
We're
should
gonna
read
switch it to
Parks.
Parks Department. Okay,
So you want to make a motion?
yeah, I'll make the motion to change it from Unionville Recreation Department to Unionville Parks Department.
I'll second that.
And that's in every spot,
In
but
each
recreation.
spot.
Clerk, town clerk. It's only in those two spots, right?
Yeah, I
First
think
two.
first two.
First two
Well,
sentences.
it's down at the bottom too.
It is? Town of Unionville. Oh, Recreation
Yep.
Department, I see it, thank you.
Okay, all in favor of changing it to Parks?
Oh, aye. Somebody did.
Has to
be
seconded.
Yeah,
I did, right?
she did, yes. I read the,
No, for the
Who- but-
amendment.
No,
Oh,
to
the
the,
amendment.
I thought somebody just seconded you. You just made the motion.
I made the motion.
I
just
seconded
Change it to
it.
Parks,
John
and then John
seconded it.
seconded.
we complimented each
That
other.
And then
time.
John made,
And the vice versa for the whole thing.
I'll make the motion to second change in
we already did.
No, John,
John
John
I read the
did.
resolution,
Now we're at the
Patty
resolution.
seconded the resolution.
And then for the
Vice
motion.
versa for the
Yes.
motion.
Okay, thank you.
Did we confuse you yet?
Okay.
Are you ready, Andrea?
Somebody said they were seconded.
Roll call vote, Andrea?
Councilman Welch,
Aye.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Supervisor Thompson,
Aye.
Councilman Torres,
Aye.
Councilman Brady.
Aye.
Do I have to read this whole?
Yes, you do.
I'll
We
read
planned
fast.
it this
Okay,
way.
Dad. Yeah, you lined it up.
I
So I
did.
get like the 3-pagers. John may have to read me.
You want- do you
Oh,
want to take over the other
yeah,
half?
well, I'm not gonna read that part anyway. I'm not gonna read that part, just
The
this part.
resolution's right
Yeah.
here.
Let me read the one I got from the. All right, so whereas the following grant was issued by the Federal Aviation Administered to Sky Acres Airport, LaGrangeville, State of New York, state PIN 0810, dot 28 FAA, AIP, a bunch of more numbers. Whereas such project is necessary for the operational safety and efficacy of the airport, and whereas such project is necessary to maintain the airport consistent with FAA and New York State DOT standards, and whereas the FAA has issued a determination that such project qualifies for categorical exclusion from preparation of a formal environmental assessment, and whereas the town board of the town of Unionville hereby expresses endorsement of such projects for the purpose of New York State funding only, New York State DOT funding only, and whereas the town of Unionville's endorsement of such funding did not in any way waive any local permitting requirements. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Unionville, County of Dutchess, State of New York as follows. The town board finds such projects a type 2 action under SECRA, and which would not involve any review under the SECRA 1, and authorizes the town supervisor to execute New York State DOT Form DV-21, which is attached. The town board endorses the project to receive New York State DOT funding assistance. A copy of any National Environmental Protection Act environmental report should be provided and made a part of the town board records. The town board directs the clerk to send a certified copy of this resolution with the attached form of DV-21 to each of the following: Sky Acres Enterprises, New York State Department of Transportation, Tri-State Planning, Engineering, and Land Surveying.
Okay, I will second that.
Town board discussion? Okay, this doesn't mean that we're in any way allowing anything to go on. This is a technicality. The state is in charge of this whole thing. And what this is telling is that the state notified us what is going on, if you can understand it. So that's all we're saying, is that we were notified that the state is allowing all of this stuff. Okay.
It certainly sounds like a worthwhile project.
Definitely.
Okay, any other town board discussion? Roll call vote?
Councilman Marsh?
Aye.
Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
Supervisor Duncan?
Aye.
Councilman Moore?
Aye.
Councilman Frazier?
Aye.
Wow, he almost became a supervisor.
All right, we did everything here. Okay, public comments on non-agenda items.
Good evening. My name is Bill McCabe, and I have a request for the board. I'd like the town board to discuss at a future meeting a revision of the town's sign law, as it seems now to be honored more in the breach, and at best inconsistently. It is the most restrictive law in Dutchess County.
Yep.
It might be at least partially unconstitutional, and has proven to be unworkable in practice. I will be discussing this when I meet with the chair of the Republican Committee, as well as other topics including perceived misrepresentation of facts and personal attacks on candidates on social media, and also on town employees, but also we'll be discussing this town law on signs. So I requested this, I think, 4 years ago, and nothing happened then, but
well,
maybe.
George
I have that.
made up a whole
Yes.
information sheet, and to change the laws
Yes.
on town center property, and it's not just a resolution that we can bring to this table and we can say, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. There has to be public hearings, there has to be all kinds of documentation for the public, for everyone else to review. The planning and zoning should be involved.
Right.
And I think that it's a bit late in my term to start this procedure, but I think
Yeah.
it is a necessary one that needs to be done.
Yeah, so Patty and I did discuss that today. She handed me the information today, so George Kolb has been looking into it, Michael Agori has been looking into it. So going forward, we do need to make sign changes on various different levels, but we will need to address the town code to do that. So they did make some recommendations. I can probably scan that and send that out to the rest of the board so we can go forward and sort of see where we're at.
And now I'd like to go into a brief executive session.
Oh, Tom.
Sorry,
No, that's all right. I never come up.
what's your name?
We did say.
Tom St. Ange, Bloomer Road. I thought you guys might speak about personal time off tonight. It was on the agenda last time and it got tabled. I won't get into my story because I would be a broken record to at least John and Karina and you.
And me.
Right, but there's a packet of information or two out there and.
Again, and I will pass that on to the next administration.
I mean, I don't know. We'll probably be able to talk about it
Okay.
before the end of the year.
I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for reminding us.
I'll send it to you when we get it.
Just a quickie. There was no resolution. When are you going to present a resolution to approve the budget?
Next meeting.
Yes.
Next week, a week from tonight.
A week from
Yes.
tonight will be the next meeting.
16th.
This was the public hearing. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll make a motion, we go into a brief executive session.
I'll second it.
Regarding. I have to say something.
She owes you.
What did she do? Oh, yeah. Yeah, little snafu.
No decisions were made, no money was spent. I'll second. Dave second.
I'll second it.
Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Now we can make a motion.
What? Are we at that point?
I wanted to discuss the budget before we adjourn. I don't know where if that was your next move.
I thought we were gonna discuss the budget during the public hearing for the budget.
Well, you didn't
We
bring
will
it
be
to...
discussing it next week.
It's not passed.
It's not passed.
I understand that. But you never gave the board an opportunity
Okay, go
to
ahead.
speak, at the public hearing. I feel that we need to restore the fourth full-time highway employee. I know, that would be a 25% reduction in his workforce. I know from personal experience that it's extremely difficult to first hire and then retain seasonal workers. I experienced that at my job annually. And I just don't feel that our department, our highway department, can work adequately with short that man. And I'm prepared to put that in the form of a motion.
Well, I would encourage you to reach out to Kim, who does payroll, and look at how many days we have only
That's
3 men
irrelevant.
working.
That's irrelevant. And I'm looking at the future of our town here.
Well, even if there is a lot of times when men are not fully staffed, that even more pressure to have a fourth employee to be there to get things done.
And I'll point out as well that a lot of those periods were due to health issues. And he didn't refill those positions because there was some anticipation that the employee might return to the job, and then he'd have to, let somebody go. The second one that was mentioned here had a family member with health issues that he was attending to, which was the reason for the numerous days off. It's not something that was done just because they didn't feel like coming to work that day. These were extenuating circumstances, and that's not the way the department is meant to run. I'll also point out that our department has some of the fewest number of members of any department here in the county.
I'll point out that the gentleman resigned on September 6th, and I guess there was no need to hire another guy to take his place. He's been running with three guys for 3 months.
Well,
Maybe he's saving money.
I don't know,
Well, given the
I'd like to have a highway superintendent come and give us some input on this.
and given
I know
the
they
error
did-
of this board
I
and
did see
the
that he sent
treatment
an
of highway
email today, but I
super,
didn't have a chance to read it.
I didn't either.
it did specify that he does need that fourth man. That was what was in that letter today.
Yeah, but like I say, I mean, you're talking the day of the meeting. I had gotten home from work.
No, I'm just helping you out here, Dave, that's all.
Anything else?
Well, on the similar subject, next meeting, I'm gonna lobby to have that money reinstated for Betty Albrecht for her position. Only $3,200 for next year, for her park secretarial work and her equestrian center work.
Anyone else? Okay, our next town board meeting is November 16th at 7. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.